So sit up straight and tall. So part of what I've been trying to teach and share for years, but especially since we've been online, is what is the sensation of allowing, not just with your head, not just quieting down your mind, but when you allow, there's a landing that happens, right? But one of the things that asana in particular is teaching you is that landing release feeling is a form of grounding, but it's not a state of collapse either. That in fact, that allowing and action and effort can actually inhabit the same space at the same time. And that most of us have learned to take the quiet part of our being, and when we activate our will, we shut off the flow of the quieter, more nourishing part, right? And part of what we're doing in centering, when I ask you to do things like allow the whole space in the room, but do that without dissipating. So that's why there's a structure, like feel your feet on the ground in your sitting bones. So you're practicing a certain kind of simultaneity, both the sensation of allowing and the connection to outward. So the pratyahara, the sensation of inwardness, is not a collapse. It can be a collapse when you need to go to sleep, right? But it does not dissipate with refined structure, with the asana. So as you try to balance your head over your neck, soften your jaw, the inside of your mouth. But as you create a drop in how your brain and mind is working, feel the energy come through your spine. One way to activate that is to hit down with your sitting bones and gently lift the chest, but keep the head balanced over the neck, right? So you're have that allowing that I can feel more when I really feel the backs of my eyes and the softness in my mouth, right? Behind my eyes. And then I'm going to find my sitting bones, find my feet, and start to activate into asana without disturbing my sense of connection. Now, if you can bring your hands into prayer and stay on balance, bring your hands into prayer and add. See, I collapse as soon as I do that. So I don't sit in prayer that much when I'm sitting, right? And I have nothing to prove that I can do it, especially in the centering. So now do it again. Now you get more symmetry. So those of you that aren't putting your hands into prayer, right? Find a different way to check into your symmetry. Like, what's the space between the sitting bones? Where's the absolute center of your chest? What's the balance between the space between the ear and the shoulder on each side? And find the midline between the two sides and lift up and drop your shoulders down and broaden across the collarbones. Become part of the fundamental happening. Close your eyes if you haven't, if you're comfortable doing that, right? Lips together, teeth slightly apart. There's a hum when you connect from inward to outward. Because you have a structure just a little bit, you can also receive from outside to inside. Start more with inside to outside. Let go of your day. Prepare your mind to do yoga. Good. And then release. Add even more structure. Take the sternum more up towards the chin and the chin down over the sternum. Create a better structure, especially through your spine and rib cage. A little bit more alert. So something's rising, your will is rising up through your spine, going down to the ground to rise up. But then you're dropping your chin. So you too are receiving. Raise your head up with closed eyes. Open your eyes. Reposition, right? Restart feeling it. So one of the things that happens when you get like better and better at quieting down is that there isn't an immediate, the other part of your brain still has to wake up back out to outward, right? Right. And so like just keep moving around a little bit. So just keep switching gravity and making sure, because we're going to get active in the class, right? So you're wanting to go take that inward part, right? Keep it with you. How do you keep those types of calms with you, right? We think that calm has to come from outside to in, but what if that's the big freaking lie? That calm can't actually come from outside to in. Why do you think so many people with anxiety are scared of silence? Because calming doesn't, they fill their lives way too much, right? Because they don't want to sit still because the silence isn't calming for them, right? So you're practicing certain different subtler sensations. So now I want to feel that the movement that I just did, but remember there's an unchanging part of your experience too. That the yogis are trying to teach. Even when you move, this is asana lesson. Even when you move, there's an unchanging part, right? What is that part? How does the unchanging flow through me? Well, one of the ways that a whole bunch of the planet accesses that is a faith in God, right? Right? We have certain ideas and beliefs that allow us to feel this stuff, right? So sit up straight and tall again. And again, connect inwardly, but this time don't close your eyes and be more dynamic. So now you're in a similar place, but now you're being more active, right? So maybe you're, figuring out how to move within your own sense of connected expansion. Like if you are actually trying to, every time, I don't know about you, but when I'm around mountains, they affect me as a sensation, right? If I'm opening to them, right? And I can kind of almost feel maybe what's going on over there in that mountain, right? So if this is called mountain pose, become whatever the sensation is that you pick up from being around a mountain. What does that mean? Like, what are some of the qualities that you get from a mountain that could come into how you're sitting right now? And so roll your inner upper thigh slightly in, extend from the inner groin down to the inner heel, rise up simultaneously through the spine, right? Broaden. So remember the top of the mountain. So imagine this is your peak and it's a blue sky. Doesn't the quality of blue sky seem different when you juxtapose against a mountain? It's so crisp, right? And remember, it's also a little bit chilly up there near the peak of a mountain. So you've got, right? But it's coming out of the earth. But you don't ever see a mountain that's not coming out of the earth, right? They don't just suspend in midair. So all these things that maybe you have as impressions from being around stuff. Good. And then release. I was having a conversation with Kevin Kingsley. I mentioned him a lot because I learn a lot from him. And we were talking about trees. in different trees because of the overstory. And I was just talking about how they were like sentinels for me, right? Like I live around trees and I've been going through some stuff, like I'm re-experiencing some old trauma right now. And so it's important for me to have the grounding of trees around, right? So how is it that I can join my surroundings, right? Like, and take advantage of their strength and their slower moving time, right? The great thing about forests is that they don't ever deny you access. You're always invited to join them, right? Like trees, if you have a favorite tree, if you ever had a favorite tree in your life, it's never going to deny you access to being near it, ever. They're just amazing. They don't get grumpy, right? They're just ready to be there with you, right? And I was talking to Kevin about trees, and he wrote back something funny. He said something like, "Well, yeah, like whenever I'm around jack pines, I sit up straighter because they have really good posture. They make when I'm surrounded by jack pines, I sit up straighter because they're all about posture." And then he makes this comment that I'm still trying to figure out. He goes, "But aspens have a sense of humor." And I'm gonna live into that one. Like, how do aspens have a sense of humor? And what if I were to like think about different trees as having to try to feel into their different things, right? And it's like, what are the sensations? I mean, I don't know if you figured out that probably trees have figured out how to live more efficiently than humans, right? They're not taken from the earth as much. Non-stealing is one of the yamas, right? The transition between the quietness and slowed down time and the speed of our actions. Trees are probably better at that, right? We get caught up into speeding up time all the time to have a full life, right? The busier you are, the less time you have. Like everything's little pockets of quick time, right? So sit here for a second, and in 30 seconds, in the next 30 seconds, as you sit connected and at attention, try to have slow time in the next 30 seconds. Slowing down time has nothing to do with having a lot of time. They're different. Again, those are different sensations. Good. And then release. Minds struggle with slowed down time, right? In our younger generation, my son is 22, they're getting fast time because they're constantly looking at social media, right? They're constantly having changes, right? And so, the idea that there's a different sensation of slowed down time, and your mind is going to struggle with slower moving time, even though you crave it as an adult, at least, right? That like there's and they're different sensations, right? It's the mind that speeds things up. And so I want to be able to, and usually boredom starts to happen and your mind doesn't like to give up the ghost very fast. It's going to want to struggle and fight against the slowing down of things because that's not how it knows itself. Your mind knows itself through conflict with the world, and I don't mean like violence, but like through encounters, through the objectification of your experience outwardly. That's how mind gets its life, right? And so that's part of why Patanjali is talking about calming down those oscillations to feel more connected. So you're practicing stuff. And then make sure maybe you can add the beautiful sensation of breath. Right? It's a good sensation, however you do it. I remember a big pivotal point in my yoga practice was something I read from B.K. Sengar and Leonard Pranayama, which was breathing is the subtlest and most important form of energy exchange that you're ever going to have. It's an exchange of energy between you and what's outside of you, right? But we don't, typically you don't pay attention to stuff like that. All right, but that's what I mean. I hope you start getting more sensual, sensation oriented, right? All right, so I'm going to warm up my low back because I always want to, damn it. Because before I start moving too much, I need space. And there are certain pivotal spaces. Your low back is one of them. That's why so many us oldies get low back pain all the time, because we don't manage the space in our low back. We kind of just take it for granted. We lean on it. We do all sorts of things to it, right? But the space in your low back, it's not so good when it becomes compressed, right? It's going to make the world heavier. So especially when you sit a lot, the tendency to have compression in your low back is a lot, right? And you need to keep that space open. And this is something I couldn't, and then come on back, I couldn't do, but for a lot of reasons. But a very senior Iyengar teacher, then come forward again and lengthen your back, however you're doing it. He has a pose that all of us would benefit from, that's hard to arrange, is Setu Bandha, which would be if you're laying flat on your back and put a block or a bolster underneath your sacrum, that kind of long, elongated bridge. It's like a bridge, like you're bridging over a bolster. That sensation, right, of having reference at your sacrum and opening the connection, your tailbone coming forward and opening the connection between your spine and your legs is a really important one. In fact, this senior Iyengar teacher said to me, I should be doing it every single day, getting that space open, because I'm sitting all the time. So now I'll go back the other way. So instead of thinking about how much you're backing up, what I'm trying to do is have you right now get more aware of the connection between your legs and your and your spine. So in going back this time, don't think about this so much as a back bend, but think about this more as getting this crease more open. So I'm actually pushing on my legs and I'm open. I'm not worried about how far I'm, that's the back bend part. I want this space to get more open between my torso and my legs. And then I'm going to release. I'm going to come forward. So then I'm going to start giving it some rhythm. I'm going to come back and I'm going to elongate my legs and try to get action this way. So this space, the crease, opens more, right? And then I'm going to go come back through it again and come forward. So it's not, and this is part of what's important about upward facing dog, right? But, and so I'm, again, pulling on my legs away from me, pushing on my legs and opening. And then I'm going to come back through and I'm going to add a layer. The layer I'm going to add is when I do it this next time, I'm going to try to find where my tailbone is. And I'm going to try to make it move at least energetically towards the ceiling as I do the same action, right? So I'm coming back, I'm going here. And now right here, I'm going to try to lift this space up as I'm elongating this way and falling this way, right? And then come back through. We'll do that 3 times. So we're just trying to open up a space that usually doesn't stay open, right? And again, the attention's here at the crease, right? And then back through. And then one more time, I'm going to go up and open here. And my attention is being here, not here, right? As much. and then release. So now I'm going to think, okay, how can I make this more felt? Remember, I'm paralyzed. I don't feel as much. So I got to put one hand under my butt bone here, right? And I'm going to flip it up. I'm going to help as I lift my chest. I'm going to put a reference on my sitting bone. I'm on. This is my right side, maybe to the left to what you're seeing. But like I'm going to hit that up, and so as I come up, I'm pushing my own sitting bone. So I get to start to have more tactile sensation. And then I'm going to do it on the other side. Just trying to get it so my brain actually starts letting my mind hear much more of the movement, right? Much more of the movement, right? And then release. And just see if that changed anything. Changed a little bit for me. And now, this time I'm going to take one of my hands, whichever, my other shoulder is really sore, and I put it on my sacrum. So I've got it on my sacrum, right? And as I start this little part of going back, I'm going to push, instead of on my sitting bone from underneath, but the sacrum is the triangle-shaped bone at the very base, like your pelvis, and there's a triangle-shaped bone. So as I come up, I'm doing this in my hand where I'm turning into my own, pushing my own sacrum. So I'm going to do that. It doesn't matter how far back I come, but the realization that the sacrum reflects the sternum and the sternum reflects the sacrum is a really important truth about asana. So I'm pushing into it, right? As I'm opening up. So I'm making sure that there's a movement, especially for us that can't move as well. There's a movement of the bone in relationship to my chest, right? Bones move too. And then release. And I'm going to try it because I'm a yogi and I feel like I have to do things symmetrically. I'm going to try it on the other side, but this is hard on my shoulders. So I'm not going to do this as much, but I'm going to do it from both directions, right? I'm going to put reference and move the bones in me and start to connect it to my chest open. So I'm just trying to make it so more is coming into my brain, to my mind, and making it to my mind. And I'm just going to sit here again. And now trying to keep the impression of moving those bones and having them come apart. I'm going to again do this thing where I'm trying to make the crease more exposed. But now the instruction of, as I hit back and raise my tailbone upward, as I push away, go back, now I've got a tactile sensation to help what it means for this to open and then back through, right? I'm trying to raise up from the backside of my tailbone up this way as my legs go this way and my head goes back. Good, and then release and come back up. So this pose, Setu Bandha, Rika Zenger said this about the pose, which I never heard him say anything about a pose like this before. So it's got me curious for about 24 years now. Which is Setu Bandha is, no, it's actually his son that says this. Setu Bandha is God's gift to humankind. Which, it's a big statement to say that. So I've been trying to figure out what the hell could be meant. So I'm gonna go back to my sacrum again. Because I know if I were laying flat, this would be raised skyward as my chest opens, right? No, actually, B.K. Zenger says God gift to humankind. Prashant says something else. Good, and so I'm again getting this more open. So now, can I even make this? I got both hands underneath my sitting bones now, pushing in my sacrum. Can I make it more yogic? And as I hit up and lift, can I open my chest at the same time? Roll my shoulders back, right? Try to get it even more of a full action. And then I'm going to do that one more time, right? And now I'm going to release. And now on this final one, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to try to extend awareness down through to my heels when I do this. So I'm lifting in, I'm opening my chest, and I'm going down to my hands. right? Another time. So I'm leaning back, opening the chest, pushing up on my own sacrum, and connecting to my heels in the same action. Actually, one more time. I don't want to talk and do it. I want to do it, right? Good. And then release. So the thing that Prashant says about that pose, which is interesting to me, is so it's meant to be a bridge, right? So you're lying flat. I should almost show a picture, but you've got some like a bolster under your tailbone, and your head's on, your shoulders on the ground, and your heels are on the ground, right? So you're literally a bridge, right? And he says, Setu Bandha connects the shores of the self. The other thing I've learned from Setu Bandha is that there's no such thing as a one-way bridge. The energy should be traveling, the river should be traveling not in one direction, but it should be it's like it doesn't follow the river, it follows the foot traffic, and the foot traffic goes in both directions, right? That's a big insight for asana. That's apana and prana, right? That's what apana, like from the head to your feet. So one more time, do it however version you want, if you want to do it right, and think about why that final piece, when you're doing all this other stuff, to make sure you connect to your own shore, your own other shore. Be aware of your feet, right? So you actually make sure that the shores of you, and there's a river that runs between the shores, the banks of you are connected, right? So I'm going to do it one more time, and I'm going to try to have all this in it, right? And then back. And then I realized one of the things that Setu Bandha is teaching me is how to have, it's really just a really good back bend without getting attached to the accomplishment part. All right, so I'm going to take all of this and come forward again. Now, can I make that crease even more crisp in relationship to where my legs and spine are? I think maybe I can. Always remembering where the feet are. So part of more directly working with your spine is you gotta keep your feet in the game. So I'm taking a few breaths. Good, and then release. So sit up straight and tall. So I went so inward there that I want to move. This is the time I'm trying to also show you the things you need to do so you don't get overwhelmed by your own practice. You have to recognize what you need when you need it, right? I want to lift up against because I want to get this back into movement. So I'm going to keep doing this because I want you to live. If you get around in a chair, sit in chairs a lot, I want you to live on your chairs, not in your chairs, right? So then I'm going to come up and bounce a little bit, right? Wait, I may not have vertical jump anymore, but I kind of do. I kind of can get a little hoppity in there. What do you mean? Because I realized I absorbed too much loss when I was first injured because they didn't know how to activate my whole body, right? And so, my God, I got some hippity hop in here. What the hell? I deserve some hippity hop, right? Right? It's like, yeah, it's hard, but if I warm myself up, I can't count on my ordinary life to give me this kind of hippity hop. But shit, I got some vertical, I got some game, right? I got game, right? Right? And so then I'm gonna try to shake it up a little bit, right? So I'm gonna move it from side to side. I got hops, and I got a little hippity hop, and then I can I'm gonna move one knee forward and do my, wait, Shit, man, I got way more game than they told me, right? It's because they've never lived with a freaking spinal cord injury, for God's sakes. On one level, they know a lot, and on another level, they don't know shit, right? I don't exactly know, for those of you that have MS, I don't know what kind of hops you can get. I think you probably can, right? That's part of your adventure. Every condition. I was like, wait, I'm gonna go back and forth now. Huh. Right. Oh shit, I'm gonna go that way. Oh, and then I gotta be yoga and go the other way. Oh, I don't like this way. What the hell? What happened to my brain? Why am I so rigid? Why do I can do it one way and not the other? Holy crap. Oh, the other way. Oh, there's my favorite, where I'm going in a circle. This way, that means I got to go in a circle the other way. I got to swivel. So I'm pulling back here, hitting that leg forward, and moving my spine and going in that direction. Huh. Damn, it's hard when you expose the places where you really need to practice, right? Because you know what gets going? That freaking self-critical voice, right? Oh, I don't practice enough. And then, oh, then you don't practice because you feel bad. All right, so now inhale. Let's go to some familiar stuff, and then exhale. So as you take this arm back, before you do, where's your hippity hop? Where's your hop? Where's your jump? Right? But don't jump everything down, because you got to stay in your feet. So now as I lift my chest here, it may go slower in time, right? But I want to make sure I'm using that buoyancy without losing the ground. How the hell did trees not collapse on their own weight? For God's sakes. That much mass, you and I would get crushed at the base. And then back. And then they don't actually grow symmetrically, right? Sometimes the branches go out perfectly, but often they're at different things, and yet they stay incredibly balanced. What the hell are they doing? Right? I don't know. Except here, I'm going to wonder if I can hop up and get light as I lift my chest, right? I'm going to stay down in my legs like the roots of a tree, but I'm going to have jump into the pose. So I'm going to work for both and then come back to center. One of the really smart things about a flow practice is it gets the jump better, right? Instead of there's all this heavy inward stuff, right? And then I'm watching that as I land and ground, I'm always choosing base. Then instead of just taking my arm around, I'm gonna hop my arm around, right? So my arm becomes an expression of my vertical, my ability to jump, right? Because once you try to crank the twist, you've taken all the lightness out of the pose, hoping that you'll find it, right? And then back to center. And then up. That should be part of your hop too, right? Up, over, choose grounding, and then figure out where to use your hand. And then as you get it, then as you hit down, use your inward hops to go up and then start to turn. And when I'm going to repose, because I want to do it better. So I'm going back and letting my hops go away. I'm coming back, my chin back in center. I'm going to go through it again. Hop, turn, become more whole in a way that includes my mind. Good. And then come on back to center. One of the really wild things about mind, if mind only is the one that it controls your body movements, is that you'll actually lose more and more of your body, right? Because your mind's gonna succeed by narrowing always, right? So come forward again. So this idea of trying to do some things where your mind isn't the only one doing them, really important. It's one of the reasons why asana is one of the 8 limbs for this type of communication. You mean all this out of Setubandha? What the hell? Right? You got to start asking yourself, what are the sensations that are being taught to me in certain poses? And there might be 4 or 5 core sensations. Good, and then come on back. So again, we're gonna like get the hops again, right? And then we're gonna go over, which now you gotta stay safe, but I want you to hop, right? Hop, right? But I can tell when I start hopping, a couple times in a row, I lose my legs. So now on this next hop, I'm gonna make sure the bottoms of my feet stay part of the hop. It comes up me, so I'm gonna slow down time, right? I'm gonna not, and it's mostly there's more joy not in slow time, unless you're over 50. So slowing down time is really hard for a lot of students. So I'm doing it again. Like, so this is so goofy, but when they like you see a movie and they slow it down to slow motion and the sound goes in slow motion. So as you do this last one, what would that be? Your hop in your spine going more slowly through time. Like that kind of weird voice. Wow. So much is lost in speed. It's amazing. That doesn't mean you shouldn't practice your movements fast. It just means sometimes you should practice them slow, right? The problem with going slow is your mind tries to control it too much. So on this other side, we're going to go through some of the, the hop this way, right? And I'm just making sure this off-centered hop, right? It's just a happening part of the hop, right? And I'm kind of get my sacrum to come up through my mouth as a form of jumping, right? And then instead of holding my head down this way, I'm going to come over and open. So the hop travels all the way through, right? And then I'm going to pause here for a second. I'm going to reposition. And now I'm going to do it with that slowed down hop. Remember, I'm not talking slow on the outside. I'm talking slow on the inside. Accessing the inside experience of time is a different sensation, right? So I'm going to start the hop. Have it come through me. So time doesn't slow down with your will. Time almost always speeds up with your will. That's why you get frustrated when you don't get what you want. When you're trying to pull a nail out of a board and it's not working, slowing when you're using your will to win or to make something move, right? Your will wants a fast and then come back to center. Your will wants it fast, and when it doesn't, it's going to get angry fast, right? So the advantages of slowing down time have so many different things. So last weird story. So I was, and we're not going to do this upside down, but I was talking to this conversation that had a huge effect on me with Richard Freeman. We were at lunch. He and his wife, Mary Taylor, both really good yogis. And he was about to teach a workshop at the Yoga Journal Conference. I'm just moving because I want to keep moving, right? As I'm talking. He was about to teach a class on inversions, going upside down physically, but on the connection between the top of the palate and then as an expression of being more aware here, having it travel up and having your eyes go up in your head. Okay. So it looks goofy. He did it to me. I said, Richard, that's not a good look. But basically, well, I'm going to try to like show you what he was doing. Right? He's like feeling here and then taking his eyes up to the top of his head. Right? Like that. And he thought that, and it's really hard to do without getting it really shaky, right? Or at least for me. He was trying to teach that as an expression of Uddiyana Bandha, for those of you who know bandhas, okay? And that he chose to teach this upside down is kind of wild, okay? He wanted so much other, he didn't want distraction. But what we're gonna do and what we just did, we're gonna side to side again. And as you're feeling your hop, I want you to feel it up through the top of your mouth, the roof of your mouth, right? And even let your eyes go up, right? To the up. You can keep them closed, right? But so here I'm over to the side. Now, something's going to be coming through. I'm going to get my hops and I'm going to keep the top of my palate as part of the pose. And even that the energy, my eyes can follow it. And then back to center. Now, the problem with this type of instruction is it makes you lose your legs. At least it does for me, right? So I get so caught up in the continuation that I forget my base. I think that's why he taught it upside down, right? Because you can't lose your base when you're upside down or you fall. So I'm finding I'm doing it on the other side, but I'm doing something to rock and get me grounded again, right? And then I'm going to go off to this side. And I'm going to know where my hops is. So I'm like doing a tiny little version of it, not being so deep. And now I'm going to go slow down time. Let the hops connecting to the earth still come up through the top of my palate, through my eyes. And if you do it well, you're going to naturally want to correct your head. And breathe. Good. And then release. I'm going to do it on the other side one more time each side. So we're trying to get, if prana was always happening in every direction at once, it was continuing on through me. And part of what the bandhas are trying to do is get there to be a continuous connection, not so much in the mind's control. So you're coming over, you're finding your hops, you're letting it go slow enough that your mind can shut down enough that the top of your palate, roof of your mouth is part of your hops, as is a continuation that your eyes can even follow. Now open your eyes, but continue the continuation without putting your eyes up into your head. So I mentioned that I think maybe Richard Friedman did too much acid when he was a kid or in his early 20s, because these are some weird instructions that I've been like trying to figure out how to do without going upside down, right? So over, he did in his early 20s, he did a lot of acid, I think. And so I'm gonna get the hops, the fullness, the continuation through the top of the palate, up, letting my eyes follow. Good, and then release. Remember, for almost everybody, your eyes roll up in your head when you're sleeping, right? Especially in REM, right? I think that's right. Right, so there's something here. So if I sit up straight and tall and use the grounding of a mountain here again, and I find my feet and find my sitting bones and start to become the mountain. But as I lift up through my chest, I let it continue and even let it go up through me. Now can I stay with the ground as my hops travel? So remember, the mountain is also wide. There's maybe one ultimate peak, but there's a lot of horizontal. Good, and then release. When someone, I've been watching people with different levels of disability for a long time, and aging and everyone, when there's a neurological struggle, often eyes go up into the head, right? So it's an action. We also do it to remember sometimes, right? It's not that often. When you're trying to remember something in the very beginning, you almost always look up, right? To ground it and really find it, you might go down. So damn it, what was that freaking person's name? But that's after you've let more in before you grind, right? You ever notice the more you try to remember someone's name, for a while, you can't find it. You've literally, especially as we age, we've shut down that neural pathway. I know it. So you have to reboot and stop thinking about it. All this stuff, the sensation of forgetting, the sensation of remembering. So we got to start doing shavasana here. So come back to center. One of my favorite sensations in the entire world is going from full bladder to empty bladder. Love that feeling, right? There's so many sensations. So sad that so much fear is gripping our country and our world right now. That's a heart sensation. And it makes you vulnerable to believing anything. It's a scary sensation. I actually hate it. Why people go to scary movies, I have no idea. Right? I'm scared enough, man. I don't need to. There's too much shit that's out of my control. I don't need to go watch something super scary. But some people love it. So find your symmetry, start to drop. Now take in your chair, the sensation of your chair. Let something like hold you up. Find where your head should be. For some reason, I'm not putting my hands together today in Shavasana. I like the stability of my hands on my legs, by my knees. Somehow that feels better today. So I trust it. Soften around the temples, the jaw, the inside of the mouth. Feel your breath. Don't change it. Thank your body. Thank it again. Start to bring yourself back. Slightly deeper inhalation. Slightly longer exhalation. When you're ready, open your eyes slowly and then close them if it's a little startling, and then know what's coming and open your eyes. So one of the things that I'm trying to like point out about the benefits of a yoga practice is that one of the things that it's helped me to get is that that there's sensations to things like gratitude, right? So I think that by always asking yourself, what are you grateful for? You mentalize it and make it about an object, right? When the sensation itself doesn't have to be about anything in particular. It's and for someone that's going through a really hard time, they can be told where they can do it. Hey, practice, just be grateful. Your life, something horrible just happened, but if you can get the sensation of gratitude, it'll help your mind again, right? And so being able to study sensations without them having to have objects. I'm grateful for this, I'm whatever to that, right? It's like, wait, shit, it's just kind of amazing. Like when I allow as more of it without being afraid, it's awesome, right? And it's like when gratitude stays in my head, it tends not to transform me. But so when you know there's certain things you are grateful for, start to pay attention to this quality of the sensation you have while those things are occurring, and see if that can be part of your repertoire without it having to always be about something. Or maybe you're able to conjure gratitude from a memory of a place you were at that in which you were grateful. But remember, it's as much about the thing as it's, I think, less about the thing. It's as much about the sensation it creates. That sensation is yours, right? You've had a couple moments in your life, I know it, where you've been grateful. I know you have the capacity, right? All right, I'll stay on for a while, but if you have any questions, but namaste. The spirit in me bows the spirit in you.